here for many years now, and I always enjoy coming to Vancouver. I'm speaking today, as he said, about battery metals, but not really the mining of battery metals per se. More this battery passport thing and the requirement that's going to go into it for the next couple of years here. This is who I am. These are my different companies: Digest Publishing and Resource Stock Digest. I serve different clientele, investors, and companies. A couple of books I've written there. And then the Dines letter, which I took over for after Mr. Dines passing in April of 2022, which has been an honor and a pleasure to get to know his subscribers as well. Any former Dines subscribers up here? People that know Mr. Dines? Couple. Great. This is what we're talking about here, these regulations that are coming down the pipe here in major economies, specifically the EU, the US, and Japan. So starting in 2027, the European Union is going to require that all electric vehicle industrial batteries have a battery passport. Japan is getting close to requiring the same thing last year, introducing disclosure requirements for EV battery emissions. And then as part of the Inflation Reduction Act of the United States a couple of years ago, in order to get your tax credits for your electric vehicle, all those components of the electric vehicle will have to be sourced from North American Free Trade Agreement countries. So that's all great, but we have to figure out how to track all that and prove all that and figure out where it all came from. This is what you see when you buy a car now. This is called a Monroney sticker. You probably call it a window sticker. It tells you some information about the company, your expected cost to fuel it, miles per gallon, the price, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where we're going to, something called a battery passport, where you'll scan some sort of code on the car, and you'll get all the information about the components that went into the battery, not just what's in the battery, lithium, manganese, nickel, iron, phosphate, et cetera, but also where it came from, the emissions profile associated with mining it, the sustainability associated with it, et cetera. And this is very real. So this is already happening. This isn't a hypothetical. As I said, these governments are requiring it, and major OEMs are already on board. So Volvo has went ahead and already done the battery passport thing for their sales in Europe. You can already scan their car when you go in and see what this battery passport looks like. And it looks something like this. So a company called Circular did it for Volvo. You might have heard something mentioned about the circular economy, right? We want to get these minerals out of the ground. We want to put them in the batteries, and ultimately we want to recycle the batteries in a circular type of economy. And this is just an example of some of the things that go in there. So the type of battery, the model of the battery, the performance, expected range, et cetera. But also those things I just mentioned about the sourcing of the materials. And that presents a problem for the mining industry, which is still very antiquated in many ways, right? Still lots of stuff done on pen and paper, pencil and paper, which we'll talk about in a second. But also lots of various companies, entities, governments, NGOs, and stuff involved, right, in the extraction, processing, moving, permitting, et cetera, of all the things that go into creating a battery. So it's a very complex problem with, I think, a very profitable solution. So we said the governments are going to require it. We said the OEMs are already doing it, and now it's going all the way to the metal exchange level, right? So this is the London Metals Exchange starting to require this year aluminum producers submit their carbon emissions data. How much carbon was emitted while you were mining this carbon or mining this aluminum and getting into our exchange? Want to know. Right now they want to know. Soon it's going to be a need to know, have to know. This is being mandated. So when you start talking about exchanges, it gets really interesting because there's some new players in town, right? The LME is fairly antiquated, right? We still have, I'll get into it more in a minute, but, you know, nickel crashing the LME in recent memory, right? As recent as 2022. Deliveries of metals that are not metals, right? Painted copper, painted rock still get delivered, right? Because a lot of these contracts are futures. They're not physically deliverable. There's a lot of manipulation and, frankly, outright fraud. One company that's interesting is AVAX. They're working with various things, but one of the things they're working on is a new exchange on which will be traded new metals contracts that require some of these things that I'm talking about. This is not a fly-by-night clip. Their exchange is already up and running out of Singapore, backed by some very astute folks. I mean, you know, Robert Friedland is interested in this. They've got Jeff Curry on the board, and it's Josh Crone who's running the thing. It's a busy slide, but you want to look at the revenue column. On your left, just the revenue associated with facilitating the futures contracts, right? So all the way at the top, your biggest market, sort of WTI, sweet crude, those just the managing the futures contracts were $320 million a year. all the way down to smaller VICs and aluminum, $57-44 million a year. This is a big industry in and of itself, just the futures trading. And this is really where the rubber hits the road. I threw this in there this morning because I was tired of reading about Trump Point, and I'm tired of hearing about when young folks are going to come into mining, and I'm tired of hearing about when mining companies can get tech multiples. Well, when mining companies start doing tech things is when all that stuff is going to happen. And this is where it's intersecting in real time right now. So yes, discoveries are exciting. I love mining. I love financing companies, but that's a real tough game, as many of you know, and its successes are few and far between, and you really have to deal with the cyclicality of the resource business. This is bringing in that technological level, right, to make it not just dumb rocks on the ground, but to make it exchanges and online and exciting and blockchain and all the buzzwords, right? And like I said, happening in real time. So this is a Reuters article from last week, or I think the old day it is, but yeah, I think last week. They plan to launch a lithium carbonate contract within weeks after their nickel contract, which of course presupposes that they just launched a nickel contract, which they did. This is cut and paste from Bloomberg. So you're getting media traction here now, right? Reuters is picking this up. Bloomberg is picking this up. This is from January 12th. I don't like to make you read, but I would like to read this for a second. So they're launching a nickel sulfate futures contract to meet the growing demand for battery ingredients and address price divergence between the types of metal. And there have been calls, I'm on the bottom sentence now, there have been calls from the industry for new pricing systems that could serve as an alternative to the LME, right? And that's exactly what they're creating. So this nickel sulfate contract has launched. It traded volume the day it launched, and then we're off and running here. This is what I was saying earlier. This is one of the main reasons why, right? Because you're still buying $36 million worth of painted rocks. 2025, the year of our Lord. It's crazy. And this is one of the underpinning reasons why, right? This is how a mining engineer or something goes about, writing notes. I mean, this isn't from that long ago, right? We've got to digitize all this. And this is the opportunity that I'm going to get into now. How are we digitizing this, the entire global process? How are we going to make money from it? And what sort of companies are we investing in outside of AVAX, which is a publicly traded company? So one company I help finance and have been writing about in my newsletter is called MineHub. You can see what they do there. There's different facets of this, right? Supply chain resilience, I won't read them all, but the fraud prevention I already talked about, and then the ESG, right? Tracking the emissions and who is mining it. And I'll get into more about that in a second, because I'm firmly of the belief that in 10 years, when you go to buy a car, instead of having the luxury trim and the standard trim and the base trim, it's going to be, do you want child mined cobalt or no child mined cobalt? And that's going to be like the tiers of the trims. And you're going to see that in metals contracts as well, right? Like there's going to be clean copper contracts and there's going to be not clean copper contracts. That's happening. And so real players are getting on board now. So, BHP is already doing business with MineHub. They already have Codelco as a client. Sumitomo, Southwire, which is one of the biggest wire manufacturers in North America. These are very real companies. ING, a major financial backer, helped put this technology together. And now they're off and running. You can see in 2021, they had 20 companies as clients in their ecosystem. 2022, they 5X that to 100, and then 2023 up to 150 plus. And it's because of the nature of the business. It's like a flywheel, right? So you bring on a Codelco, and in order to figure out Codelco's emissions and tracking their copper concentrates, et cetera, you have to know everything about Codelco. You have to know where they're buying their fuel from, who are they sourcing components from, what's going through their mills, what's going through their processes. Then, where's it going after that? You have to track it once it gets on a barge or a ship or a train, all the way to the port, right, where the physical commodity actually gets delivered. And MineHub has to make all those people a part of their ecosystem in order to track all that stuff. And as a result, all those people become potential clients for MineHub. Very exponential, very blockchain-like, very Trump-like. Very nice, very great, very big. And it's not just the ESG, right? Like I said, many facets of this that can also help the bottom line, right? You're saving money by managing inventory more properly, by burning fuel more efficiently. You're obviously saving money on the bottom line. It becomes easier for you to present data to potential financiers, thereby lowering your cost of capital. This has very big implications down the line. And also for your bottom line, right? So we financed MineHub at 22 cents. not too long ago. Last February, I believe it was. Actually, I think it closed on the 31st of January. 22 cents with a full warrant and 40 cents. And you can see as this nickel contract got trading, and as they partnered with ABAX, I left out a crucial part of the story. ABAX bought 20% of this company. ABAX bought 19.5% of MineHub. I should explain why. It's because they need MineHub's data to go into their futures contracts, right? To go into their metals contracts so they can prove, is this a clean nickel contract, et cetera? Is this a clean copper contract? And this story, this narrative, in a very sense, we're going from narrative to it being real, is resulting in real returns here. So, with the closing bell rang the other day, MineHub finished up at 54 cents. That's a pretty good return the past year with, by the way, full warrants at 40. And so that's sort of the digital component of it. There's other companies that are involved, but it's not just the blockchain and tracking and digitization. It's also improving the way we do the physical processes. And so transitioning now into how we're going to improve the processing. The companies there highlighted in yellow are companies I've either helped finance or recommend in recent memory. I'll sort of talk about them each individually. So, right now we have various methods of mining, milling, open pit, et cetera. But metallurgy is sort of low, recoveries are low. We know that mines are getting older, they're getting lower grade, et cetera. We want to do things with tailings. We want to be able to extract more from that. So all that sort of stuff that governments and other folks are interested in right now. So these are new sort of extraction technologies, and with big companies behind them, Nuton, with Rio Tinto and Jetty, et cetera. And there's a little one called SIBO. These are new ways to apply extraction technologies to mines. But one company I helped finance in 2020 was Aldebaran Resources, right? They're the Altar project in Argentina. And late last year, Newton came in and offered them a bunch of capital, right, to push their project forward, not non-dilutive capital, coming in and taking a portion of the project. And we can look at what that stock chart looks like in a second. Same thing with Arizona's Sonoran, with the project in the American Southwest, now partnering up with Newton to see what that technology does to their bottom line. And then I'll skip all the way down to Kotek. It's an interesting company I have financed last year at 50 cents, trading at 65 cents. That makes investments in these different sort of technologies. Kotek has a rare earth recycling technology that will be generating revenue in Texas in 2026, and they also own a piece of SIBO. And again, happening now. So just this fall, Glencore announced, not that it was going to merge with Rio Tinto, that was this past week, Glencore announced that they were going to use SIBO at a mine in South America to extend the life of it, because they're getting to the end of the life of the mine and they think this technology can prolong it. So there's different ways to invest in the extraction of these different metals as well. And that's what I was saying about Nuton and Aldebaran. They signed a joint venture with them to invest tens of millions of dollars over time with various tiers into the Altar project, into Aldebaran. And what happens as these big projects grow and as they get headlines and as they make these partnerships, we financed back in 2020 at 30 cents. And you can see what Aldebaran, little tiny Aldebaran, the junior copper company, has done relative to copper itself, down there at the bottom of 60% since 2020. We have known hit $5 last year, back down around 4.30 now, and much higher return than the big boys and the COPEX ETF, which is an ETF that tracks major copper producers, right? So 600% in 4.5 years is pretty good work if you could get it. And then just wrapping up here as I get to the end, it's not just for hard commodities, right? There's a whole class of commodities in this world called soft commodities that are facing the same challenges and need the same solutions. And there's supply chain companies that are emerging to help them do that. So Beyond is a sort of a special story. You would know them from Bed Bath & Beyond, which went bankrupt, and has now come back listed as Beyond Inc. is being run by Marcus Lemonis. And they still do Bed Bath & Beyond. Yes, they have bedbathbeyond.com and a number of home websites where you can buy sheets and pillows and grills and all that sort of stuff. But then this financing arm called the Lychee Ventures that's embedded within the publicly traded equity. And they own these different blockchain-related technologies. One is called GrainChain. That's the screenshot I have up here on the board. And GrainChain basically does for agriculture everything I just explained that MineHub does for the metals industry. And GrainChain's already had a buyout offer in the hundreds of millions of dollars that they rejected, that they denied. They declined to sell themselves for an offer of several $100 million, which is more than the entire market cap of Beyond right now. valuation doesn't seemingly seem to matter anymore. But, that's a very real thing. You get offered several $100 million. If you say no, you think you have something very valuable there. So, that's not a direct investment. Beyond does other things, as I said, but nobody really knows about this Medici Ventures blockchain investment arm that's going on inside of Beyond. And so you can read the things there, but they're doing it, from seed to plate, essentially, helping farmers manage their things. And this gets lucrative, right? Because you get into hedging and not needing to hedge because your crop's better, what your yield is going to be, et cetera. So the same thing that applies to mining with the cost of capital and tracking all your things better is going to apply to agriculture here. Just different ways to invest in it. And this is the last slide here. I can get back 4 minutes of your time. And so this is bringing it full circle, right? From the first slide, we're going to require battery passports for electric vehicles and industrial batteries. Guess who's using electric vehicles and industrial batteries? Well, just last fall, Newmont took delivery of their first all-electric mining truck, right? And then you have to ask yourself the question, it's sort of a joke to end the talk, is I wonder if they have a battery passport for that, right? So, we're doing this all the way around. It's not just Volvos in Norway. It's Newmont in Nevada, right? So, and this is very real. This is happening right now. There's much more to investigate and much more to come, but just some food for thought and a couple of companies I've invested in that you can check out. And that's it for me. We finance these companies privately for the most part. We have a newsletter called Private Placement Intel. And then digestpublishing.com, you can see all the other research we publish with my partner, Gerardo Del Real, who does all the interviews over at Resource Stock Digest. But we have plenty of products there that you can check out. So hope that was interesting to you. I find that to be fascinating, especially given sort of the malaise that we find ourselves in with the general resource stocks not having responded to the gold price, not having responded to the $5 copper price. This is sort of the future of mining, right? And I think people are very interested in that. I'll just use my time for a second. I keep talking. You see a couple of weeks ago, Cobalt, which is the private mining company backed by Bill Gates and Bezos, is raising money at a $3 billion valuation. They've never found a thing. They just got the Bill Gates and the Bezos name. There's no companies out here with a $3 billion valuation. They're attracting the tech investors, right? And so that's where we're going. We're in Canada. We can do the Wayne Gretzky thing, but this is where the puck is going to be in mining, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years. It's figuring this stuff out. And there's a lot of money to be made in it. So I hope you continue researching that stuff and check out Digest Publishing.